Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Howdy, all y'all. Red O'Loughlin here. We're on the Wise Ones today on the USA Global TV and Radio Network, and I am very, very happy to have Jayna Locke join us today. Jayna is a blogger, a fiction writer, content marketing specialist, SEO expert, and many more. So, Jayna, please join us out here today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm so super happy to have you today. So many things to talk about. Let's start with blogging. How long have you been a blogger?
Oh, gosh. Let's see. I don't know, 6-7 years, something like that.
A while. How did you get involved with blogging?
Well, it's funny. I got involved with a social platform that is based on a crypto platform, and it just got me hooked. It's kind of like social, it's kind of like Facebook, I would say, but where people write longer content, articles, and so on. And it's everything from fiction writing, which is what I'm involved in, to just blogging about life and photography and interests like cooking and gardening. And so there's always something fresh and fun on that platform. So I'm on it every day.
Sounds like we have a lot of things in common. I think I read somewhere when I was doing some research on you that you write because you must. Is that a fair assessment?
I think so. I've tried to stop several times. Tends not to go well. No. Yeah, no, I do love to write. It is my passion. I've been writing all my life, and today a mix of fiction and nonfiction. But I really, in the last 5 years, took my fiction writing to the next level and started publishing my stories, and then recently put together a collection, and that's now published. And so I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Okay, so your latest book, literally, your latest book just a couple of months ago came out, Somewhere in Minnesota.
Correct.
And that has about a dozen short stories in it. Is that correct?
Yes.
And Somewhere in Minnesota, how did that title get selected? It's interesting, Somewhere in Minnesota. Tell me about that.
Well, each of the stories takes place somewhere in Minnesota, so hence the name. No, I write stories that I think have a sense of place. I really love that as sort of a driving force behind a story. It's like, what's that backdrop? I grew up in a theater family, and so the backdrop was always really important in storytelling on the stage. So I try to do the same thing with my fiction writing. So I have been all over the world. I've lived in many different places. I grew up in Oregon. I've lived in California. I've lived on the East Coast. But for the last 20 years, I've lived in Minnesota. And so a lot of my stories are based here in this state, which is it's a beautiful place. It's very cold and icy in the winter, and it's very green and lush and beautiful in the summertime. So this varying environment and all of its lakes and its frozen winters makes a wonderful backdrop for stories.
Is Minnesota the one they call a land of 10,000 lakes or something like that?
It is. Yes, okay. It is. Yes, and there are actually something like 14,000. There are many, many lakes. There's lakes everywhere. So,
have you had a chance to visit each one of them?
Give me time. I will try.
How many of your short stories are focusing on the lakes?
Well, I haven't counted, but lakes do often feature in my stories. For example, one takes place on the North Shore, which is Lake Superior. We call it the North Shore because is the North Shore of Lake Superior, and it's a gorgeous place to visit. It's absolutely stunning. So one of my stories takes place there. One takes place on a frozen lake, which is thawing in the spring, and a small toddler walks out onto the ice unbeknownst to his parents until they all of a sudden realize that he's chased a ball out there and they can't go to get him because the ice won't support them. So
I bet that could be a really scary situation. I
I would
just
think so.
that just kind of stops me right there just thinking about it. It's not a situation you want to be in with your kids, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, okay, you fiction writer, so that's kind of like natural storytelling, and you have a way of being able to tell a story and put those stories into writing, and so that's what you have done with Somewhere in Minnesota. You have a dozen different stories, things going on, and I notice on your website that you have here's the first story. Here's some questions. I have never seen that before, where you help people. Okay, well, here's the story. Here's some questions. Answer the questions. Who came up with that idea? That is really unique.
Well, so I have two things. One is a set of questions for book clubs. So if a book club is reading this collection together, then they can use those questions to help guide their conversation. But I also have a scavenger hunt. And so that is, I think, just a way to tie the stories together and give them some commonalities, and also to give people something fun to help them kind of think about what's in each story. And it's a fun kind of a game as well, because people can actually win a t-shirt with my book cover on it if they complete the scavenger hunt.
That was one of the things I wanted to do with my books, is have a book cover on one of my shirts, and I've never got around to doing it. So I'm glad you said something about that, because it's been in the back of my mind and forgotten. Now I need to resurrect it and go check it out some more.
That's fun.
Digi International, that's your company, is that right?
Yeah, that's my profession. Yes.
And that deals with content marketing, strategy, and SEO expertise and things. So how did you went from
Yes.
blogging to fiction writing to short stories to, I need to ask you one other thing, micro fiction. I've never heard that term before. So I noticed that in your website, you have a place there for that. And I looked at a couple of them, but tell me a little bit more about microfiction before we get back into Digi.
Oh, sure. Microfiction is just the shortest imaginable short story. Um, the famous one that a lot of people have heard of is, I think it's attributed to Ernest Hemingway, which is it's like an ad in a newspaper, and it says, I think, baby shoes never worn. So, and so the idea behind microfiction, and it can be, 25 words, 50 words, 100 words. It's a very, very short story, but it's going to have a lot of meaning between the lines. It's going to have, it's going to be just so short that your mind has to kind of fill in the blanks because there's only so many things you can say in a tiny amount of words. It's like a tweet.
Okay, so what do you write 300 words and then pare it down to 200, pare it down to 50, and then publish the 25 word? How do you go about developing a micro fiction?
Well, I would say if you can create a vignette that feels complete of a person's experience, it could be something where, I mean, let's say a person is walking down a path and there's a snake on the path. I'm just making something up as I go. So what happens? That's it. That's really,
What?
it's a scenario, and it has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, essentially like a longer story, but you have to be very, very succinct.
Yeah. Down here in Texas, the next thing you'd hear would be a shotgun blast.
Yeah, see, that would be a great way to start a short story.
Blam! Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go ahead and get back to your content marketing strategies and things like that. That seems to be, you've developed a very nice ability to write. Now you're taking that writing knowledge and using it to help other people to get them better at whatever they have. Is that kind of the genesis of that particular company?
So Digi is it's a global technology company. And so I've been with the company for over a decade, and I've worked in their technical communications group as well as the marketing group. And I have just specialized for many years in marketing and SEO and content marketing, which is it's kind of the sidekick to advertising and paid promotion. So it's really a way of helping people to understand your company's products and services through great content that attracts them through search engine optimization. So your products and services can be found in a Google search.
Okay.
So
When I think about content marketing or content development, I'm thinking about the research I have to do in order to write something, not necessarily the application in a marketing or advertising environment. But I see what you're talking about, because you want to take those keywords and be able to blend everything together so that it's appealing and findable and everything else. So how did you get the skills for that?
Well, I sort of grew up professionally in content marketing. I mean, I used to run my own business for quite a number of years, helping companies to employ these techniques in their content so that they would show up in search engines for whatever they are offering. And so then I brought that skill set to my current company. And yeah, so went back to corporate after the kids grew up. And so I've been doing that ever since.
Now, SEO seems to be one of those things that's elusive. You know, what we were doing for SEO 5 years ago isn't the same thing we were doing in COVID, isn't the same thing we're doing to now. Is that a fair assessment of SEO?
Well, I think so. A lot of the techniques really don't change that much over time, but the algorithms do. And so it's good to kind of keep relearning and keep refreshing your skills and keep finding what works.
Now, in some places they have the hashtags, and that's an SEO enhancer, or at least a locator beam of some sort. But if I'm writing a short story and publishing it, should I have hashtags in order to help the SEO?
Well, it certainly can help your content to be found by people who have an interest in that particular um, whatever that is behind that. Like, let's say, you're into gardening and you're on Facebook or LinkedIn or X, and you use the hashtag gardening. If someone wants to find other people who are interested in gardening, then they could click that if they see it, or they could do a search on hashtag gardening and they would potentially find your blog post on it.
Okay, let me take you down that road just a little bit further. I sometimes in my brain, I think I understand what's going on. I put hashtags on some stuff, but not everything. But let's say hashtag gardening, and I write, half a dozen blogs, a couple short articles, maybe even a book. Somebody goes in and they type in hashtag gardening into just a Google search, and they'll find a lot of stuff on gardening, but my little portion of it's probably maybe that big. How do they actually find me?
Oh, that's a long conversation. But I would say, so the hashtags are really by platform. So let's say you wanted to show up on LinkedIn, you would go to see what gardeners are using for hashtags on LinkedIn. And if you wanted to show up on Facebook, then you would do the same search there and just see, well, and Instagram, for example. So I like to do searches to find out what people are talking about with regard to book launches and fiction writing and writing prompts and all kinds of things like that. So what's interesting to me is I'll maybe do a book launch, search on Instagram, hashtag book launch, and I'll find a lot of people who are, using that hashtag. And then in addition to that one, there will be other, related hashtags as well.
If I looked up hashtag Jayna Locke, I would find you without any problem.
Give it a try. I haven't ever done that. I'm not sure anyone's using using a hashtag for my name, but I have started using the hashtag somewhere in Minnesota to to have a personal hashtag for my book. So that's another strategy.
I think it's somewhere mid-COVID, one of the webinars I was listening to, they said, hashtag your name. I mean, it doesn't cost you but just an extra hashtag, and depending on what's there. And so, okay, so
right, and there's no downside. Exactly, why not?
And so I put it up there, and maybe somebody wants to try to find me or find what I've written, and then I have that ability. So I just thought it's kind of a neat idea, but I never really, maybe still don't fully understand. I guess it's one of those things I need to go to YouTube and find out how do other people actually do it so I can see them doing it and understand.
Yeah, YouTube is a great resource for learning things like that. Absolutely.
But if, let's say that you're a new author, which you are, and you want to be able to get some traction in marketing your book, let's go ahead and use somewhere in Minnesota because that's what you have a lot of knowledge in. How would a new author, such as Jayna Locke, start their social media, their marketing, their SEO? How would you start wrapping all these things that are available? And what's important? Do I want to start with Facebook? Do I want to start? Where do I start, and how do I actually get some benefit out of being able to have some SEO when everything is said and done?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The $1 million question. And I would say every author is really trying to figure that out and how to optimize, their presence on social media. A lot of it is about frequency of content. So you've really got to produce regular content and find what works for you, really. So, but I would say look at what authors who are succeeding in marketing are doing and how they are they're engaging with audiences and writing regular content, and whether that's blog posts or videos, and it depends on what you're comfortable with as well. So some people really like to have that presence out there and have a podcast, or they might want to be on shows like this, or they might want to be more behind the scenes and write regular blog posts or social media posts, things like that. So it just there are so many strategies, and fortunately there are a lot of YouTube videos on marketing, and there are a lot of people who are doing it really well, and so kind of just modeling yourself after them, I think, is a great way to go.
Okay, so if I wanted to know what social media site gardening really belongs to. I would just say, hey, Google, what, social media is like gardening or something, whatever the wording may happen to be, or what's the best social media for gardeners. And it comes up Instagram or whatever it may happen to be. So that's my book that I have on gardening. That's what I want to be able to connect with that audience. So that's kind of where I want to have my presence felt, rather than pushing everything onto LinkedIn, which may not be the best for that particular genre or that category. So there's some little bit of research I should do up front to know that I'm in the right place. Is that a fair way of saying things?
Yes, absolutely. And I would say, if you have a website and you really want people to find your content, just writing valuable, helpful tips and tricks and providing great pictures of gardens and so on, all of those things, and of course using good SEO techniques, all of those things will help your content to be found. But if you if you put up a blog or a blog or a website, and then don't refresh that content and add new information to it on a regular basis, it'll just go stale.
Okay, you mentioned photos a minute ago. That was something that, years ago, they said never post anything without a picture. And I just always obeyed that rule. I just don't know why, but they just said always do it. So I always do it. Yeah, there's probably some times that I don't, but I'm going to say 99% of the time that if I post something, I try to have a relevant picture with it. Is that a fairly important thing nowadays to do, or is that just something that was old school?
It's very important, absolutely, because not only is it kind of visual eye candy, people are visual learners, but having images in your content is something that Google actually looks for. It's part of the Google algorithms.
Okay, so if I'm using my own photos or a royalty-free photo, no problems. But I just can't go grab somebody else's photo and put it on my
That's right.
post.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's called
Yeah,
plagiarism. It's the same as stealing other content, right? That's the work of a professional, and it belongs to them. So yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't that many years ago, middle of COVID, I get an email from some law office in New York City saying I'm plagiarizing somebody's photograph. It was just a picture of a boat out in the open ocean. And so I said, okay, fine, I'm changing it. I did. Literally in about 20 minutes, I found something else. But I went back because I know where I get all my photos, free photos, royalty free. And I found the exact one that was on that free, So I wrote back to the deal. I said, hey, that thing that you think you have intellectual property rights over is available on this website for free as a royalty free item. Just saying.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the thousands, and literally it's thousands of photos that I've published with various things over the years. That's the only one that's ever come back, and I was able to find the original source of that and found out, well, I got it was from a free source. I have to assume it was free when they say royalty free, but I guess we can't always assume that.
I've seen it all. I have over my years of blogging. Absolutely.
So if that came up to you and you knew it was your original photo, you just say, you're wrong. I took this picture, and that should satisfy it. But if not, you keep sources on the photos that you have so that you can go back and find them?
Oh, I should. I use my own photos a lot in my own blogs, and I just don't spend a lot of time chasing around to make sure no one else is using them. I don't have that kind of time.
Well, it's sort of the same way. It seems like sometimes I spend almost as much time trying to find the photo for that post as I do writing the post.
Right?
And
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting. Okay, so I have somewhere in Minnesota, and I have Jayna Locke. Would it be better to have Jayna Locke as the website, or do I want a website for my book? How do you look at the website being the name of your book or the name of the author, and how does that relate in SEO?
Well, how many books are you planning to write? So for me, I don't really want a separate website that I have to manage for my book. I've had my domain for quite a few years, and so JaynaLocke.com. And so I put my book on that site, and then I optimize my page for the book. So if people are searching for the book, they could find it on Amazon, they could find it on Barnes and Noble, they could find it on my website, on my publisher's website. But at any rate, regardless, if they do come to my website, they'll find some more information about the book, and they will also find the links to those other sites where they can purchase it.
Okay, so if you're only writing a single book, your memoir, maybe it's something, you're a speaker and you need something for credibility, so you publish a book that you can use as something to sell or give away or whatever. So maybe some cases it makes sense that, yeah, having my name as a website is the preferred way of going. But if I'm definitely doing more than one book, or I have plans for it, having your own name as a website now. So if Jayna Locke was out there and .com was taken and .biz was taken and .whatever was taken, is it the Jayna Locke or some other little nuance? JaynaLockeAuthor.com.
Yeah,
What do you
I haven't crossed that bridge.
Okay.
But I will tell you an experience. So I was very interested in starting a new business, a side business, because of one of my passions, which is cats. So I looked up and I found that I think it was catlady.com was taken. And so I thought, well, and so I went to the site, catlady.com, and it doesn't exist. It did, but it was like built in 1970 something, and all the content was outdated, and they had literally put up a couple of blog posts and back in the day and stopped. so I looked into trying to buy that domain from the original owners, and they just would never respond to the domain company that reached out to them on my behalf. So there's all kinds of funky things out there. But yeah, you could do catlady.biz then, right? Or something like that. I sort of didn't pursue it after that, but anyway, yeah, people have to do all kinds of creative things in order to have a unique URL. And then, you can potentially, improve the SEO of that one to the point that it competes with the original one that has the more kind of standard URL like catlady.com. So if that makes sense.
I was helping a client put a cookbook together on pumpkins, and it was a various things. And when I got around, I said, "Do you have a website that you're using?" She's a lawyer, and she says, "I have over 350 over 350 URLs."
Domains.
Domains is the right word. Thank you very much. That she's bought over the years because she has this love affair, addiction is probably more applicable to pumpkins, and she has all sorts of them. We got the books published, and she went on her merry way. And I see pictures of her kids periodically on Facebook, but I haven't bumped into her in a while, so I don't know how well she's doing or how well the book's doing. But I thought the 350 domains, or more than that actually, was a little overkill. But I guess if you want to cover, and that's something she's been buying forever.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that strategy. I would think that you would need to be developing content for each of those in order for them to be worth the effort to, and cost and time to maintain them. So I don't know. I wouldn't want to be in that position.
Yeah, it just seemed like to me that's an expensive proposition for something that's not going anywhere. And I never really did get into her marketing program because all I did was just publish her book. That was all she wanted. Well, she needed a little help putting it together, and we had to find some pictures of pumpkin things that she did not have, and it was an interesting experience. I learned a lot. But in the end game, when she said, that just floored me. I said, "Isn't that expensive?" And she said, "Yeah," but it didn't bother her to have that. So Anyway,
Well, if she's getting revenue from 350 sites, I mean, that would be nice. So,
well, I don't think she actually had websites. I think they were all just, as you say, domain names, but they were not developed into anything. She's holding them, I guess, to figure out which one makes the most sense, because she wanted to publish this book for a long time and never did. And then she finally got the book done, but I don't know how she, other than just selling it at local things, I don't know how she's monetizing it. But
that is fascinating.
so I noticed on your website you used to do some workshops for writers a few years ago. Is that something you're still doing?
Yes, actually, I'm about to teach a class in the fall, and then the workshops are all online. So basically, the idea of a workshop is either you're involved with a writing community and get critiques for your work, or they're basically you're following some procedures or guidelines or something in order to get some help with your writing. And so I do both.
Are these primarily fiction writing, or is it nonfiction, or does it matter?
I'm primarily involved in fiction writing, so that's really my passion. What you're scrolling through there are my monthly prompts. Those are writing prompts. And so the idea is if you're involved in my online writing community, then you would write and submit a story for that prompt and get critique and feedback from the other members. If you just want to, be inspired by the prompt, you're welcome to use it as well. So
It's interesting that you're saying in that way that there's a critique group there that gives feedback, because that's super important when you're writing, is getting some feedback, because you can write, but is it effective writing? Does it add value? Are you inspiring somebody? Are you entertaining them? What is your goal in your writing? And as you say, a microfiction, 25 words, is it really thought provoking? Did I really? I can see so many different questions being asked in there. But within the fiction world, I had a woman on last week, I think, on this show. Yes, and she was into what she called cli-fi, and I never heard the term before. Climate fiction. And that's
Oh,
what her,
okay.
and that's what her book was, and that her follow-on book is going to be something again in that climate change, but a fictional story that's happening at some point in time. I think she said about 25, that's a song. 2025. It's been too long. It's been a week. I can't remember. but 2025.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
I thought so too. It's something I never heard of, and like micro fiction. I never heard of microfiction. So I'm learning a lot here on this show. It's just amazing how many really good guests that we have on here, just sharing a lot of value about their lives and their businesses and their passions and things. So
that's wonderful. I love that exists. I mean, what a great way to kind of delve into that topic without just boring the heck out of everyone, writing stories around it that are really engaging. I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, I think in her earlier life, they went to a certain place in northern Florida, and so her stories were set in that same environment, as if some kind of, not a hurricane, but something else. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but it's just another genre that's out there, and I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and an important one, right?
You have some awards. Your articles have appeared in a number of different magazines and other journals. Tell us a little bit about where your works have appeared and awards you've gotten, and how that helps your credibility and people finding you.
So I recently received a Reader's Choice Award and for my book, and so that was really fun. And also some they're called Lit Pick Awards, but it just means that one of the Lit Pick reviewers gave my book a 5-star review. So yeah, some different things. some of my other awards were from award-winning stories, and that was primarily through the crypto blog platform that I mentioned, which is called Hive. So it used to be called Steam It, now it's Hive. Anyway, so yeah, a number of different things, and it's very validating. So, and I am my stories and my book are up for some additional awards, and it's just fun to see where that goes.
Okay, as we're getting closer to the end, is there some question that I should have asked you, or area that we didn't talk about that you feel like you want to? Hey, oh, by the way, I really wanted to talk about this. So here's your time right now, and then I have two other things, and then we're going to wrap things up.
Sure. Well, I think there's a lot of confusion about what a short story really is, and it's funny because a lot of people ask me, "So are they based on real life?" And so that's a question I get asked a lot, and I would say in response to that, I mean everything is based in real life because a fictional short story is a study in characters, a study in life experiences, and so from that perspective, you know, life experience comes into every story. But a fictional short story is really just a way to capture an experience or a one person's moment in life when something kind of transformational is happening. So anyway, I like to sort of explain that because people, you know, really don't know what is a short story. And I say, well, you know, a novel is a story, and just think of something much, much shorter. And that's really what a short story is.
A novella.
Yeah. And I know
Okay.
novella is really somewhere in between a short story and a novel.
Okay, so it's bigger than microfiction, but smaller than a novel. Okay.
Right.
Where do people buy your book if they want it?
Well, it's on my publisher's website, which is kirkhouse.publishers.com. And actually, I have to look that up to remember their actual domain, but it's Kirkhouse, and it's on Audible and Barnes and Noble, and yeah, you can find it on most bookstore sites. I discovered
And
the other day it's even on Walmart.com.
fantastic. And how do people contact you if they're interested in you speaking or just chatting with you or whatever it may happen to be? What's your preferred way of
Yeah,
contact?
I mean, I love to join book club groups, and I can do that through Zoom and so on. And I like to do readings and all that. So there's a contact page on my website, jaynalocke.com. And here's my
Okay,
book. I'll hold it up so you can see it. Ooh, there we go.
okay, for our audio audience, Jayna, Jayne, Locke, LOCKE.com. So Jayna,
It's actually
Jayna,
JaynaLockE.
I'm sorry,
Right. Yeah.
Jayna, Locke, LOCKE.com.
Correct.
Jayna, I love chatting with you today. I look forward to a future engagement, your next
Thank you
book
so
out,
much.
whatever that may happen to be, or just on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. There's so many different ways of having these kind of interviews. So, but truly, I do look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Thank you
And
so
right
much. It's
now,
been delightful.
thank you, Jayna. This is Red O'Loughlin getting ready to sign out on the Wise Ones here on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. In about 17 minutes or so, my next show is called Talking Heads. For the last 4 or so weeks, been talking about how do we get what's the best way for a new author to write a book, get it published. We talked about a bunch of different things. So I've kind of summarized that all up today, and I think in a reasonable period of time that we can do a nice summary and kind of touch everything that we've touched on a lot more detail in earlier uh, programs on Talking Heads. So with that, Red O'Loughlin signing out on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Take care. See you all next week. Bye now.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents our partner and sponsor, Mr. Philip Sykes and the British School of Excellence. Building confidence, changing lives. And now, proudly presenting the Polished Professional.
On a transformative journey with the British School of Excellence's comprehensive suite of masterclasses, crafted to elevate your professional and personal life. 8 outstanding modules will elevate you to the next level. Module 1, Exploring Life's Purpose, delves into the depths of self-discovery, guiding you to chart your unique path to fulfillment and success. Module 2, Mastering Professional Presence and Confidence. This masterclass is a deep dive into the art of self-assurance and commanding presence, which is essential for standing out in today's competitive landscape. Module 3, Learn the secrets of visual impact, how to curate a personal style that amplifies your professional brand. Module 4, Mastering Professional Etiquette and Communication Excellence, navigating the nuances of corporate interaction with grace and tact. Module 5, Elegance in Eloquence. We impart powerful techniques to captivate and persuade any audience with your oratory skills. Module 6, Unlock the potential of your emotional intelligence, EQ, and harness the ability to connect, empathize, and lead with emotional savvy. Module 7, Mastering DISC, building a gateway to understanding behavioral styles, fostering better personal and professional relationships. Module 8, Mastery in Dining Etiquette, building your confidence to perfect the subtleties of dining with finesse, enhancing your social savviness at any table. Step into the Polished Professional program where poise, elegance, and excellence aren't just taught, they're instilled for life. Join us to redefine your potential and polish your professional edge.
To learn more, go to thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. The British School of Excellence are investors in people. Let us invest in you.